Hello, you've arrived at Band on the Run side 2. And if Band on the Run side 1 was any indication of how this is gonna go, you've tuned into a party, a musical listening party. And I wanted to thank you guys so much for the very warm welcome that we received over here on side 1. I'm so grateful to have been met with so much kindness and sweetness and love from you guys. So just know it meant a lot to me. And a special thanks to our super thanks heroes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You have such a great impact on my life. And I'm gonna go further into that at the end of the video. We'll discuss that a little more. And to our ultimate super thanks superheroes, you are the best. And we've got a very special surprise.
So it's worth sticking around today.
All right, let's get into this today. Band on the Run side 2. I think we are kicked off by the song Mamunia. I don't know if that's the right way to pronounce it, but you know, what are you gonna do? That's my best shot.
Mamunia.
Okay, so we're started off by this really beautiful light sound. It falls a little bit more into an acoustic nature, but then there's this suspension device that is held throughout also in the instrumentation that kind of gives it this sunshiny glow. It's very major so far, and the overarching major highlights how beautiful the coloring gets with all the really interesting chords. We have that 7th right away thrown in there. So that was really, really interesting because we had a total shift, and at first I was
like, oh, did we just jump from a major to a minor?
Because we just got set off into a whole new world. But something that
that occurred to me was that
yes, there was a key shift, but it wasn't from a major to a minor. We stayed in the major, so a lot of the same themes were present, like that descending nature that was set at the beginning still continued on into the verse section of the song, but our attention was shifted a bit as well, because now we have this descending feature going down in the bass, or it's primarily in the bass, where I think the intention was so that we put our attention and focus into the bass, and then that highlights the duality of what's going on with a very light and piercing vocal being delivered. It feels very, very soft and airy, as opposed to, you know, his more growled, grounded delivery that he's able to give. Well, that was just so delightful, and it felt so peaceful, and like there was a coexistence with the opposition that was going on there at the end with the instrumentation. We had these raw, bare, acoustic elements, guitars, and then we had the maracas, a little bit of some percussion action that's always exciting and fun. Then we had this electronic device that's incorporated and thrown in there. It made for this
happy vacation time.
And he incorporated a lot of ad-libs, but instead of letting them exist in the background and fade out, they were kind of highlighted and set forth center stage. Like they kind of just shot through the painting of the song, like it just ripped right through, and it created this really cool looping effect on itself. The certain harmonies that were chosen were so beautiful, and the way that the notes kind of clashed against each other. Most of the time there was this ringing openness, which added to the whole happy, vibey, sun ray thing that was going on. But then there were times where they just kind of rubbed up against each other a little too closely, and that always gives me like, I loved this one. At number 2, we've got no words. And I wonder if that means that this song is gonna have no lyrics. You know what? I'm just gonna
Trust the process.
So much just happened. I needed a moment to just let it sink in for a second, but then the next grand thing happened. It was like explosion after explosion. It was literally starting off with this parade of extremely intriguing and interesting notes and pitches with the chord changes, right? We had so much just colors being thrown in the air with all the different, that we had like a seventh, and we had just gripping chords, like I think a diminished chord in there, and the way everything just presented itself and just fused together. Like we had that guitar come in out of nowhere, and then we had that abrupt shift where it was like an explosive moment, really, where we just bam went to an immediate forte, and it got percussion heavy, and then we got sat back down there with this really insane transition where the dynamics just kind of led us down back into this floaty, a little bit slower spot. Right there, that's where we have one of the moments that's just the collision of all the pitches that happen there throughout all the different mediums, right? We have the vocals, and we have the instrumentation, and we have these chords that just, so we have this overarching major, right? Like the song's in a major, and the way that minor chords play in a major song just kind of do something to me. They pull at my heartstrings, or sometimes they just take my breath away all at once, and I feel like this does both at the same time. And then to make matters worse, the melody that's chosen on the main vocal, on the lead vocal, and then we have that harmony that just kind of throws a wrench into things emotionally. That moment just builds this cluster of tension that gets released, and that resolve is so rewarding. Wow, and just for an outro. Now that's how you execute an outro. That's how you execute an entire song, but I think that was worthy of applause, just the way that electric guitar came in and stole the show, really, and it allowed for one of the most brilliant outros I've heard in a really long time.
Maybe the song was called No Words because it's supposed to leave you with no words, but I'm left with a lot of words just to explain that.
Number 3 is, or are, or were, Picasso's last words. Parentheses, drink to me. Okay, so far, I feel like this is the most acoustic, raw, bare moment that we've had in all of Band on the Run, including side 1, and definitely in side 2. Although it's felt like we've been getting progressively a little bit more stripped until we've gotten to this moment. But this one is really, really cool. I feel like it's a little bit more percussion focused. Like there's a lot of really interesting, cool new things going on in the percussion. Like it feels like we have this like device that reminds me of like a tape that keeps on getting ripped up and then plays back down and then ripped up. Then we had that suspense building transitional device, which was really great because it has this like kind of grand finale that shoots us into the next verse that kind of ties together everything really well. This one feels a little bit slower, a little more laid back, and it's being beautifully executed. It's a little bit folky, it's a little bit country, but I think it's really endearing so far. You know I can't drink anymore. Okay, so many things. Just for a second, I was like, oh, we have a tonal shift here where it felt like it was getting a little bit Pixar-y, where it felt a little, it switched from being folky country to a more whimsical, cartoony, still light and bare, but in a different sense, just reimagined. And then bam, we're shot off into a completely different world, just isolated from the both of those completely into this like a jazzy moment. And it's still percussion driven, which is funny because it is completely different. But yeah, there's still a little bit of some percussive devices there that shine through above everything else. But I think he's also saying Jet. So is this supposed to be like a callback to Jet? Wow. I went into this song thinking one thing and then I got put in my place. Not thinking anything bad, just thinking I knew what was gonna happen, and that was the mistake, right? I have to always be ready for these curveballs that Paul McCartney is gonna throw at us, because once a Beatle, always a Beatle, I guess, with these surprises. Having those little spurts of the instrumentation shining through there. We have the strings, right? And it's in a higher pitch. Almost feels like an instrumental version of ad-libs or like backing vocals, yet delivered through orchestration, which is really clever. Moments like those where the bass guitar kind of gets to be the star a little bit, even when it duetted up with the voice that came back in, was so beautiful. And then I just realized that what I think was going on with the ad-libby violins was that maybe it was meant to carry out more of a call and response type of device. Back at the pub, playing with that tape-like percussive device, and now we're jumping back into the Pixar world. That's led a little bit more with like woodwind type instruments, like, which is really, really delightful. Had no idea what to expect going into this song with the title like Picasso's Last Words. And I'm charmed. This one was definitely charming. It was a party. It was...
no dry moment.
What I really liked is that even though we explored 3 completely different avenues and almost different ways of storytelling, it felt like we experienced 3 different movies in 3 different genres. That's how drastic the change was, yet it was always kind of upbeat. It was always really fun. The same message was being displayed across the board. So that's where the genius really is. There were elements that were crossed over and carried over so well, but then the slight changes in the instrumentation, in the orchestration, right? Like it felt very big band like in one of the moods or in one of the tones, and I noticed how that could have been true for the other 2 as well, at least for another one of the moods. And it was just certain elements that were highlighted and that were the focal point were what really made the difference. So I think that's just mind-blowing. I guess this is the goal, to get to be like this level of brilliance in music, which is easy, come on. Hemos llegado al número 4 y el último canción de la noche. Se llama 1985. Ooh. Feels very minor and underworld and, quite frankly, theatrical and musical-esque with the descending piano. I feel right at home already with this song. Oh. So the vocal delivery just threw me way off. At first I forgot we were even listening to Paul McCartney. I thought this was just someone else, and then I realized, no, this is him, and this is yet another face of his voice that I've yet to hear for the first time. I believe he could go and open his mouth and have a different sound come out for the rest of his life, because it seems like he just knows how to move certain things.
The larynx and the pharynx and he knows how to position his diaphragm and his tongue and his cheeks to just make the sound come out new.
Every time, so this was yet a new tone, new to me, new to my ear. Then I was immediately gravitated towards the end of the phrases, like just something happened there musically, magically, that just kind of drew me to it. And he kept that descending theme alive, and the minor world were still trapped there. It feels very Halloween-y. Sweet dreams are made of these. Who am I to disagree?
That's what this reminds me of.
Bingo. Okay, so I still find myself being sucked right into the ends of the phrases, which is a turn of events because normally I'm like pulled into the beginnings of the phrases. So I want to figure out what that melody is that he's singing there. Find myself in love with you. Starts off with a whole step, find myself, and then a whole step and a half. So we're on C, on self, back up, in love with you. That's what I think is going on. We had the sparkly, overarching sound of an organ, I believe, shining through. I'm gonna say it. This numero cuatro actually turned out to be my favorite song on Band on the Run. Gotta say it, there was just so many things. So I said that it reminded me of Sweet Dreams, which it kind of did, but more in a sort of like the vibe that it sets out. But guess what? Two other songs emerged out of the ashes, like a phoenix rising out of the ashes that just hit me so clearly, and at the same time, the theatricality and the drama of this song is very similar to the drama of Holding Out for a Hero or I Need a Hero. I don't know the title of it. You know what I'm talking about. I need a hero, I'm holding out for a hero till the end of the night. That shined through a bit, and then shifting gears over to certain moments in the vocal melody and the way that it struck against the contrasting instrumentation kind of reminded me of CeeLo Green's Crazy. Like, does that make me crazy? That. There was something there. So this song was like those three morphed into one song, but I think this one came before all three of those. So you see how much art can just be pulled out of this one song. And then for those of you who've seen Babylon, I think that Babylon used this. Was that not used in Babylon, in the trailer, and in that party scene, that bam, 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 bam? I feel like that was the whole theme of Babylon. And then we had that there at the end, because of course this is the last song, and you need to be reminded what album you're listening to, of course, one of the greatest of all time. And for those of you who've said that this was your first album you've ever bought or your favorite album, I can see why. This does live up to the hype, and there's been a lot of hype around it. Boom, boom, boom. I've been seeing.
Be another one, be another one.
Well, until next time, peace out. Psych. We're gonna listen to Hell on Wheels. Well, I'm really glad that we held out for Hell on Wheels. This one's really fun. So far, it feels like there's a lot of repetitive action down in the instrumentation, but it feels like it keeps alive that bright, sunny nature that's been really held on to throughout a majority of the entire album. And it's really fun. I really liked the broken chord effect of the vocal layering and the harmonies, like the way that it came after, almost like a response. That was really cool. And then I like the other harmony that they included there. I'm gonna just play the harmonies back. Those notes that are being played so rapidly down in the guitars, it's played so genius, and it just displays so much skill and ability. And even just to have incorporated that in the writing of the song, or if that was impromptu in the recording, that's really something that adds to this, like, this build-up that's going on throughout the song. It feels like our heart is racing. It feels like we're in the middle of like a street race or something that's just really fun and happening and outdoors, and shoes off. Thank you so much to those of you who were looking out for me by giving me a heads up about this one, to not let it slip, to not let it slide. I'm really glad that we went over it, because it did add to this fun nature of the album, because everything just worked together so beautifully. It wouldn't have been the same without it. My favorite still stands. I still really like 1985. I think that one's great, although close second would have to be Jet. Ironically enough, both of those songs have the word Jet sung. I'm so excited for our next album, which is a surprise. You're not gonna know until it's uploaded, unless I start leaving subtle hints, unless I've already been leaving hints. I haven't, or have I? No, you never know though. I wanted to take this opportunity to sincerely and properly thank our amazing Super Thanks heroes. You mean so much to me. You're such an incredible part of our community, and we love you. We love you guys. This wouldn't be the same without you. Thank you to Bob Charles, Peter Buwen, Daniel Lona, Dean Jarva, Jerry Manes, Sweetish Jeff, and Souris Voleur. I don't know if I pronounced that one right. I'm so sorry. I tried my best, really. My deepest apologies if I butchered it. I love you guys so much. Thank you, thank you. And to our ultimate Super Thanks superheroes, a warm embrace, a huge hug, and million thanks. Beatles for Sale, Richard Olsen, Carter CLSIC, and Atsu Pero. Beatles for Sale, wanna tell you a tale. And to Richard Olsen, hope you're listening. Carter CLSIC and Atsu, you're fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Lately days have been harder to fight. for showing me a light in a dark room. Thank you. I hope you guys go on to have a great day. Take care of yourself and take it easy.